would y'all like to talk about this full moon a little bit, or hear me talk about it a little bit? Because I have some thoughts, and the past couple of moons I've made some like carousels on Instagram. I think they were really overwhelming and also didn't give me a chance to fully express a lot of different concepts that I want to go into. They're already so overwhelming with so much information, but I want to give you more information, but in a more digestible way that is less effort on me. And I realized, why not just talk about it a little bit? And so we're going to talk about astrology. Maybe we'll add some cards into this. It's probably going to be a piecemeal video of a few different things, but I really want to try to get some archetypal understanding across. I want to help you guys with putting on our critical thinking caps and learning to use astrology in a way that helps yourself, and like learning how to do it, because we can watch all these astrological things that are like, oh, this is what's going to happen for you, this is what's going to happen for you, but really it's all about you doing that for yourself. Like, because things only mean to you what they mean to you. Like, you have your life that nobody else has. And so I'm trying to take an archetype like Saturn, which is the granddaddy of karma, but is also this protector, but organizer, but legislator, but you know, it's duties and responsibilities and boundaries. So as you can see, there's a lot of different things that are related to Saturn. Venus is love and beauty and the material expression of that. It's also receptivity, femininity, it's Aphrodite, it's like passion and sex. Well, Mars is the more like active passion, but Venus, beautifully passionate. Okay, compassionate. As you can see, there's so many ways to look at these things. Just there are when I say think of a tree, think of all the trees you can think of. There's so many trees, but only you are going to think of like the trees that you think of in the order that you think of them. So you are the greatest resource for your own growth and learning, and we have to learn from others like how to do things for ourselves. But like the point of it, in my opinion, with any card reading that I do, with anything that I do, I want to help you help yourself with it, not me just helping you with it. So anyway, that's what I want to do here for us for this full moon, because this full moon is really cool, y'all, and some things, some serendipitous learning that's happened in my life over the past couple days is really in alignment with this, and I'm feeling this message coming through that I just need to send to you guys. And you can tell I'm really emotional, and I feel like, okay, I don't want to do that. I just used to be a lot more free flowing and able to talk to my audience, and so I really want to get back into that, because I have a lot to say, a lot to share, a lot that I hope and feel and know could be helpful. So let's do it. 3:33 on the timestamp. Let's go, y'all. So, okay, y'all know that this full moon is a lunar eclipse, right? That means that the earth is in the middle of the sun, which is trying to shine on the moon. The full moon always happens, right, when the sun and the moon are opposite each other. The sun is fully shining on the moon. I've explained in the past couple of posts that this means that these are opposite signs. So Leo is opposite Aquarius, for example. Virgo is opposite Pisces. These axes of the astrological axis remain the same forever. So whenever the moon cycle is in a certain sign, when it's the full moon, the moon is going to be in the opposite sign of the moon cycle. Does that make sense? And the moon cycle begins when the moon is new, when you can't see the moon. So generally a full moon, we know of it as, you know, we learn from a young age that that's when werewolves become werewolves, right? You know, it's not scientifically proven that there's more crime, but I went to Sri Lanka and they don't allow anybody to drink or buy alcohol on the day of the full moon or the day before or after. Those 3 days where it's looking full, nope. We're going to temple. We got to go to temple. We fished all day. And they were just throwing their beer cans in the ocean. I was like, excuse me, but we caught they got 8 different types of big fish. And then we went to the temple. Oh my God, I could just get anecdotal with y'all forever. Anyway, there's a reason that the full moon is we howl at the full moon. And because guys, the sun, let's get archetypal. Are you ready to put your freaking thinking cap on? Guys. Okay. You got this. The sun is the ego. It's the identity. It's yourself, but it is definitely your masculine, proud, what's some of your ego shit? You know your ego. You know what it be doing over there. You're getting to know it better. Okay, I just got this little couch and I haven't fixed this yet. Y'all get off me. It was 555, right, when I did that. So now you guys know that I am not bougie. I do live in New York City. I'm very thankful. Okay. So the sun shining on the moon is creating an illumination of the ego, what the ego wants and wants to be seen as. It's the desires, good and bad. There's good ego as well as bad ego. You definitely allow it to have both associations. Not that anything should be inherently good or bad, but just there's good and bad sides to masculine traits and feminine traits. There's, higher and lower aspects of everything. But when the sun, which we think of as the ego, is shining fully on the moon, y'all, the moon, what do you think if sun is divine masculine? The moon is the divine feminine. And it's your emotions, and it's what you can't control. It's everything that you feel, your intuition, your knowing, your creativity, your self-expression, your free vulnerability, your truth and authenticity, and also the thing that differentiates it and that I want to talk about with you guys. The thing that differentiates it is the actuality. You do not get to choose the emotions that you feel, okay? You can try to deny your emotions or pretend that they are not there. But this is only going to lead to energetic incongruence that others can sense and see right through. And there are ways in which this full moon is bringing that out for all of us. Okay. So that's the meat of what I want to get into. And I feel this mysterious air just came around as I said that. That's gonna be the meat, but I'm trying to get some not low level, but just the basics, the foundations of understanding what's going on here first before we can start talking about the metaphorical impacts and starting to apply that critical thinking to our life. But I bet your wheels are starting to turn about how that's true, because this is the message that has to come through. Okay. So sun, the ego, is shining on the moon, the inner desire, the inner emotions. And the emotions are what we can't control. Moon, water. I'm thinking of when you burst into tears, uncontrollably, I already have in this little live. I'm only wearing one earring. Katya, you have my other one. Send it to me. LA to New York, the earrings start a little spark. Okay, gosh. So guys, this is why we think that there is an emotional overflow, because the sun, the ego, is fully illuminating our emotions, and we cannot hide our emotions as well under a full moon when the sun is fully illuminating them. So there is emotional overflow at the full moon, hence the werewolves. And it's always the sun in the current sign, we are in Pisces. When people say we're in Pisces right now, they mean the sun is in Pisces. So the sun that's shining on the full moon is always the sun of the sign. The ego is going through the sign of the sun. So the ego is in Pisces right now. And I know that sometimes I have a Mercury in Sag, so I communicate all over the place, just like I've moved and traveled all over the place, okay? But if you're the kind of person who can kind of hear me through this, I begged you to stay with me, because while I may trail off and always say things that are the most understandable by you in the moment, I really trust and hope you do too, that if you are feeling called to listen to this, that you're going to get some good stuff out of it. So this being my first time back talking to the camera in a while, I feel like I got to get some other foundational things out too, and obviously have like, okay, I'm not trying to say I have Tourette's. I got some things going on. That was like rude, and you know what I mean. Lovingly joking at myself. So, right now the sun is in Pisces, and it's the last sign of the astrological year. We're about to have the spring equinox, which technically starts like the pagan and the astrological year, right? And so that's on March 20th. So we're in the last days of astrological year 2024. And so Pisces is like the death before the rebirth of Aries. But instead of like dark scorpionic death, I really think of it as escapist, abyssal, like an abyss, but the primordial like soup of like being in a mother's womb and like about to be born, bro. I've never really thought of it like that, but like literally, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune is Poseidon, and Poseidon's the god of the water. Neptune's the only sign, or Neptune only rules Pisces. The only sign ruled by Pisces is Neptune. Only sign ruled by Neptune is Pisces. So right now we're all in this kind of like dreamy, delusional, overarching, that's what astrology would say, is that when the sun is in Pisces, we're all a little more dreamy, a little more escapism, a little more confused, like it's dark down there, the waves are coming and going, we're flowing, but we don't really know where we're going. And so Pisces is really beautiful because it's dreamy, but the more lower side of it is like delusional or escapist. But on the high side, I always say Burning Man couldn't like exist without Neptune, because you see this like art car with a giraffe breathing fire that costs probably $500,000, and you're like, somebody had to think of that. Burning Man is the best just for like, you could never, what? You see this shit? So happy to be a part of that community, and that's why I love it so much. Burning Man, love. So guys, with the moon, with the sun in Pisces, and us in this like delusional end of the year, because things are about to spring, and spring into Aries, the self, the beginning, the initiate, the creator. But right now we're in these last befuddling days of the year. If you've been sleeping more, eating more, bathing more like me, I'm just be in the bath. I don't live on the West Coast no more. You know how much rent I pay? I'm not telling you. I'm sorry. So now it's the full moon, so that emotional overflow right as we're at the last few days of the year. 6 days. So man, the sky looks real pretty. I have my big light on. I got his hair up my ass. I was like, press record, and then it was 1348 and Umphrey's number. Also, Umphrey's love when I said that. So that was cute. And all right, so what is the sign that is opposite Pisces? Dreamy, escapist Pisces. I was trying to talk about how Pisces is good because it's dreamy and imaginative, but it can be bad because it's escapist and delusional and not really being realistic. It's not like actually able to see through the water and the clouds, and it's there's a lot of opportunity. There's like, you could travel anywhere anywhere with your spirit, but it's not very realist. So what is the opposite of the axis but the realist of the real? We got Virgo, which God love them. Virgo means the virgin. They are purity. And purity is simplicity. And they want to purify and simplify things, but that often ends up coming through like super anally. They're really organized Virgos in their certain ways. Like, not every Virgo. I dated a Virgo with like the dirtiest room I've ever seen, bro. You know who you are. But very organized in other ways of life. And so each Virgo is going to have ways in which they are more anal and more organized and more sensible, and then ways in which they're not, because you have a bunch of other signs and stuff too. Book a reading with me and we'll talk about yours. But so Virgo is very sensible, and it's not that it lacks compassion. Like, it's the Virgin, it's purity, it does have a lot of love. But that same boyfriend, he said it the best way. He said, emotions are like, the ability to like wallow in your emotions especially is such a convenience of like living in the world now and not having like more to do and worry about. I was just thinking about, I'm like, you know, if you were living in the time where you had to plow the fields every day, oh, go ahead, be sad and cry about it all you want, but you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life. So Virgo can see emotions as an inconvenience and not be as apt to share them sometimes. It kind of wants to compartmentalize emotions and get them out of the way. It wants to organize emotions, but do you see the inherent fallacy in that? Emotions are not to be organized. You can't like pick and choose where they go. You can work with them and alchemize them and try. And definitely with Moon and Virgo, try to do that. But also accept that they totally can't do that. And the sun trying to shine, the dreamy sun trying to shine on this moon that wants to organize its emotion, that's where this emotional overflow is coming through. Because our like Delulu ego, which is also a dreamy ego, it's like the sun in Pisces is like how the ego is dreaming of everything it could be, which makes sense because we're about to enter a new astrological year, right? In the cards, you always end with Neptune for the last 52 days before your birthday, because it's about dreaming, floating, imagining, so that you can go do big. So when our ego delulu we're dreaming of all we could be, but we're also maybe not being super realistic. So how is that true in your life right now? Okay, where are ways in which you see how grandiose your life, your growth could be in certain ways? You know, maybe just a little certain project or something, whatever's coming to mind. And now think of your relationship with your emotions surrounding that thing. Is there fear? Is there shame? Is there denial of these harder things? Is there imposter syndrome? Is there, worry of what other people will think? There's a lot of different, what are these emotions that you're trying to avoid and trying to pretend that you don't have? And how are those going to keep you from living that most grandiose version of you? Because if you are trying to avoid your emotions and like anally clean and polish your emotional states, like, honey, emotion wants you to burst into tears. It wants you to it gives you goosebumps that you couldn't avoid. It's like involuntary things, that emotions that choose us, that flow through us. And so while we can try to make sense of them, and of course Virgo wants to make sense of them, we have to accept that we can't. We can do our best to understand what we are feeling and communicate it, but we cannot control the feeling of it. Okay? And so this is going to get into the meat of what we're talking about. Look, this cool guy made this. I got this outside the Met with my friend Stella. Okay. You cannot control your emotions. You can only be real with yourself and everybody else about them. And so right now we are getting this glimpse into how our own emotional acceptance, and stop needing to be mad at yourself or something for the way that you're feeling. because that is getting in the way of you being your most grandiose self. Versus if you can freaking be honest with yourself and with others about how you're feeling, you're way more likely to be able to step into that. You're freaking delulu if you think that you're gonna get to your most grandiose self by denying and lying to others especially, but definitely to yourself about your inner feelings. So in a lunar eclipse, the earth is getting in the middle of the sun shining on the moon. Y'all, I think this is all my interpretation of this shit, okay? And you get to interpret it your way too. And I really hope you're trying. We're gonna try. Dang, I be scratching up these walls with this twerky little couch. This couch twerks like me. Do you know I could clap my butt? I can just stand there and just like clap it. Just a little wholesome tidbit for y'all there. What's up? I'm Katie the car lady, clap lady. I think somebody made an Instagram emoji of my ass tap, baby. That's another wholesome tidbit. So the earth, which is our, like, if the moon is our emotions and the sun is our ego, I think earth is like our actions, what's actually happening. And so the earth is blocking the sun from fully shining on the moon in the lunar eclipse, which is happening in a few hours. And I love that it splits, like on the West Coast, it actually is the last 3 minutes of the 13th. And for the rest of the world, except for West Coast and Hawaii, everybody else gets it on the 14th. So that has like card implications more than it does astrological, because it's just time zones, but the cards are different. And so maybe I'll have a second to talk about this at the end. I think I can only post like a 45-minute video, so I'm gonna have to stop it by then. But as y'all can see, I could talk about everything. And I hope you're getting some things out of it, whether it's just like funny little feelings or maybe just like making fun of me, if I can, whatever. You have your own journey, sis. So I think, honestly, the lunar eclipse is giving us a chance to not go so werewolf over this moon. Like, we're all getting fricked by the eclipse portal, as I can tell people in my life. Like, it's going wild. Sometimes it's almost like I feel like we have a better head on our shoulders now, and because this is the last full moon of the year, and this was a hard freaking year, astrological year 2024, we've all grown a lot. And so this partial shadow on the full moon is almost like a little bit of a reprieve, I feel like, from the entirety of the intensity of a normal full moon, where it's just intense on those 3 days, 2 days or whatever. And I think this lunar eclipse, they say eclipses are like you feel in 4 to 6 weeks before and 4 to 6 weeks after. And, you know, you can decide how you've been feeling. But essentially, how are your actions keeping your ego from aligning with your emotions? And how is this partial shadow, partial reprieve, like this full moon is a very potent energetic time, but I think we have a little more ability to like control ourselves right now, especially because the moon is in Virgo. It's not a full werewolf ass full moon to me. The shadow is creating this ability to see things that we can't normally see when there's this much emotional overflow. Usually there's so much that we can't even like handle it, and that's why there's more crime and more people in the emergency rooms, which isn't true, but totally is. So then in a metaphorical way, like how is the earth, the actions you're taking here, keeping what you want to be and do? Your ego. Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? What do you want to freaking do? That's awesome. Hopefully you're doing it in a good way. But then what do you really feel when you like can't get away from the fact that you like love the way that you love and feel the sensitivity that you feel and intuit the things that you intuit, and like it's like the very involuntary, like carnal part, I feel like, of being a human who is attuned, like you're in touch with all these other energies that you can't even see all the time, whether or not you freaking know that. So start knowing it and keep knowing it wherever you are on that range. Just like keep tapping in. You got this. Especially if you're freaking watching this, you're on some shit. You're on some type of shit. My mind's just thinking of like all the people who could ever possibly watch this and just like all their possible reactions, and it's just like I don't care anymore. Almost freaking died. Oh, okay, this is a slight tangent, so I'm hoping to get this out soon. That's a different story. But I've been thinking about what tattoo to get. And I thought a second ago, I was like, what if I just get here? Because I'm glad that I didn't die. I'm glad I get to be here. And I get to live way more like unapologetically now, in my opinion. I just had to give myself permission. My opinion, had to give myself permission. See, so I was thinking I could just write here. And then I was like, but then I would have to write now. Be here now. Just kidding. So, I really wanted to get into talking about emotional incongruence and how the avoidance of our emotions and the pretending that we don't feel them is uncomfortable and keeps us from being able to fully grow, and how I think that this eclipse is trying to help us see that. So this video came up on my YouTube and I was like, who is this girl? What is she talking about? Emotional incongruence. I think I had heard that. You know what? I've been thinking about heart incoherence as I'm like getting mad at my little cat sometimes because he just like meows a lot and I'll get really upset, and I like realize that when I get mad at him but I'm still like petting him, like there's a little incoherence in my emotional energy, which like is totally a learned behavior from my childhood. So like, how do I avoid that? And I've been thinking a lot about coherence. Well, then maybe just having that word in my field like brought incongruence into my field. And this talk I watched yesterday, like I'll share it with you guys if you want, but she's talking about how, okay, there's 3 levels. Your inner self, which is actually feeling the things. Then there's awareness of what you're actually feeling, okay? And then there's the communication of what you're feeling, which may or may not be congruent with how you're actually feeling or what you're aware of. So lots of different ways that emotional incongruence can happen. You can feel a certain way and not know that you feel that way, but everybody else can tell. But you might be saying, no, I'm fine. And you literally think you're fine, but you're like low-key freaking out. You just don't allow yourself to accept it, but everyone can feel that you're stressed, but you're not self-aware enough to know that you are. Or maybe you are self-aware enough to know that you're stressed, but you're just lying about it. You're like, no, I'm fine, I'm fine. People pleasing is kind of like a inherent contract that we make with being emotionally incongruent. And the thing is, like when you're pretending, when you're the one that's uncomfortable in a situation and like not saying anything, but everybody can feel it, this lack of alignment leads to distrust, leads to awkward, like whether or not you want it to. So there are ways in which I, as I'm just pondering this over the last, whatever, I was literally about to run out the door and go get some cat food. And then I was like, you must sit down and record this. Why now? Is this good? I hope so. I should probably, okay. So you could be, okay, attracted to somebody and you can hold it in. So you don't ever communicate that you're attracted to them. You just keep that feeling inside of you. Or maybe you want to think that you can keep it inside of you, but when you're around them, you're actually like fawning over them and you can't help it. But if you won't acknowledge that or you deny that, fuck boys and situationships. I really want to talk to some people listening right now who got some avoidant relationship stuff. And we all have weird relationship stuff, like, right? We all got things we can work on. But if you are literally lying to the other party or like not disclosing how you feel, if you're a person of any sensitivity or freaking heart, then the person that you're sharing your love with has an intuitive understanding of your freaking vibes. And I'm sorry, if you're stuttering and like dropping your taco when you're talking to me and you're like obviously auga, and then you're gonna like try to pretend you don't care about me, I'm like, homie, I see right through that. Everyone sees right through that. Why lie? Why deny your own feeling? Where is that? Where does anyone think that is going to get them? I'm sorry your feelings are inconvenient for you. I'm sorry you don't want to feel love for that person or disgust for that person, but you do. And you are always going to be uncomfortable with the fact that you feel that way unless you was honest with yourself about how you feel that way and you work with it. So I feel that the inner self is the moon, what you actually feel and can't avoid. What you want everyone to think that you feel is the sun, the ego, what you're trying to put out there. And the earth is the awareness, which is how you act towards yourself on earth. In my metaphor that I'm building for this lunar eclipse. So now let's apply the astrological implications of this. How is your inner self, which is in Virgo and just wants to purify and simplify right now? And maybe over the last 6 weeks and into the next 6 weeks, you're trying to emotionally purify and simplify. Think of it as spring cleaning your emotions. That's beautiful for you to take an inventory of your emotions, put some like high on the shelf, love this emotion, gonna prioritize that, pray to that, put that on the altar of my emotions. That's beautiful. And these ones I'm gonna stuff under the rug. The ones that you want to stuff under the rug, let's clean those too. It's spring cleaning. We gotta dust all the dust bunnies up. How are you gonna purify and simplify and get your house to feel like the most clean and fresh? Your emotional house, your moon, your mama, the mama within you, the creator, the creatrix, the vulnerable truth within you, the purity, the virgin. Okay, the virgin is helping you to purify your emotions at this full moon. But your ego is showing your emotions, good and bad, and everything in between. It's like trying to clean your house with the lights off versus cleaning with the lights on. There's the most sun on the moon when it's the full moon. It's giving you the most opportunity to shine a light on your dark little corners. But it's not so much that it's overwhelming because we've got it partially eclipsed. And now what I'm thinking is that shadow and that partial reprieve, it's because of the actions that you have taken over the last year and like how you've gotten, this is just this what's flowing through right now. You've learned a lot and you've earned that reprieve so that you can get this little extra little look-see into the shit that you want to get squeaky or clean. Okay? Because I feel like to be right with whatever you believe in, tell me you believe in something. God, believe in energy. It's undeniably here. Believe in the quantum. I don't know what I heard like the new divine unit is quantum union. Where my quantum hope? Where you is? Husband. So I feel like we've earned the reprieve and this ability to we get to look really clearly at where our own delusional ego is leading to some bad emotions and leading us to not be real with ourselves about the emotions that we're feeling, which then leads to emotional incongruence and sends ripples out of uncertainty and insecurity and misalignment. Like, you know, when like you're listening to music, like, and like somebody just hits a wrong note or they play around, happens all the time. But like that minute of like dissonance, you're like, ooh, heard that. And imagine if your life could be more harmonious, you're flowing through it so much so that when a discordant thing happened, you're like, whoa. You know, unfortunately, there's a lot more like dissonance and stuff in our everyday life than in like a perfectly like polished and, you know, regularly sung piece of music. But we get the opportunity to become better harmonizing antennae for the world around us. And every insecure thought that you have, action that you take, message that you send or don't send, you know, every time it's a lie, every time you're pretending that you don't, like, I think of it literally as every little millisecond that you're being incongruent within yourself, you're sending out ripples of, I don't want to say negativity, but dissonance and discord and like not good ripples. You've got to align in order for things to become more aligned. So this moon is like, this is your time, baby. This is a great time. This is the first of the eclipse season. I haven't even looked forward to like what is going to be coming. I'm just taking it as it comes. But this, Virgo, you want to purify your emotions right now, but you got to look at where you've been delusional over the past year and where you're being delusional with yourself on today, and pretending like others don't know how you feel about something, pretending like you don't know how you feel about something, continuing to avoid something. And you know what fucking something I'm talking about. You know a few of the things, and I hope you go think about them and meditate on them and journal on them and be like, how can I get out of my own way, please? You are the only one who can get out of your own way. You have, especially if you're watching this right now, you have hella opportunity right now to be way more honest with yourself about that. So this is just like the last few minutes, and I want to give a little, I hope some of that came through. I can feel myself getting tired. I haven't been getting much sleep, which I usually get so much sleep. Like, I'm a sleeper. Anywhere, anytime, anyhow. So, y'all, the cards, and I'll try to fit in about the West Coast and Hawaii cards, okay? Actually, it's not that hard to fit in. Okay, March 14th, which is the day that my dear Grammy, the greatest idol of my life, my family will try to insult me sometimes. You're just like Linda. And I'm like, an international socialite, like amazing singer and dancer, like so much style, best smile award, like my girl. Linda Lou. My Linda Lou died on March 14th when I was bald as hell, cancer ridden, during COVID. Is the saddest freaking thing in my life. I miss her every day. Linda Lou. I want to tell my Bill Monroe story, but I can't. But ask me in my DMs about Linda Lou. So 314 is a very special day to me for that reason. And it's also Pi Day. 314 it's a 9 of diamonds, which is the surrender and overhaul of the physical world. 9 is death and rebirth. The diamonds are the physical world. The transitive nightfall of diamonds. Jerry knew. So, dead hands, Grateful Dead friends. I am on one on this full moon, but with a little bit of reprieve, actually able to kind of communicate some things. I'm feeling like they're coming through. I'm going to watch this and be like, they didn't come through, but trust. That's where I need to get out of my own way, is trust that the messages are coming through like they're supposed to, and that y'all if I feel called to say it, that somebody's going to feel called to listen. And even if just one person learns one little thing for me just sitting here and following the divine hair up my ass to just sit here with my big light on and talking all these different accents and look a fool. I don't care about looking a fool no more. I just want to give somebody a little tidbit that can maybe help them ever. And if I can ever do that. And so I got to get out of my own way and share more about how I live my life, because I'm really proud of who I am and what I do and how I do it. And like, I really am. I've worked to that point of not needing like validation from others to do who I do, but I haven't gotten back to like sharing it yet, because I still worry sometimes that I might be doing it for the validation, but I'm freaking not. Here to share this. So 9 of Diamonds, the surrendering of the way that we do things, is the height of this full moon. And 9 of Diamonds is adding to its Neptune card because we're in Pisces. And so 9 of Diamonds is adding to the 2 of Spades. That's right. Which is spiritual reciprocity, and basically looking at all of the things that you have relationships with in your life and all the people, and really assessing what relationships, whether it's with your journal, your cat, like looking at how much you're giving and how much you're receiving, and really creating space in your life for allowing reciprocity to flourish by getting rid of the things that are not creating reciprocity. And because of the context of this moon that we've been talking about, I really feel like that's you facing your inner self and creating the most deep reciprocity within yourself that you possibly can. Kind of like in the Lovers, in tarot, it's like 2 people, but it's like, it's about self-love, right? Like a lot of people say that. I'm not big into tarot either. Like, I love it so much. I'm just not that like well-versed in it, but I freaking love it. So thankful. My Grateful Dead tarot deck is my favorite one I've ever had. Thank you, Lexi. And it's also, she just talks to me. She's like, bitch, you need to, I should pull one after this. So 9 of Diamonds and 2 of Spades are coming together to make the Jack of Clubs, which is so cute because the Jack of Clubs was the first card, the inner child card of this whole moon cycle. And then the height of the moon cycle, the highest self card is the Jack of Clubs. And the Jack of Clubs is the creative genius. It is my favorite card, but that's also because my parents make it together. It's so cute. But the Jack of Clubs, like having fun with your mind and your uniqueness. And so 9 of Diamonds, how can you like topple the things, your actions and values and material shit, sweeping under the freaking rug, literally, and within you, getting rid of the things that are not adding value to your life so that you can create more space for value. And then 2 of Spades, looking within yourself for where that lack of reciprocity is with yourself. And speaking of emotional incongruence, like where you're being emotionally incongruent with yourself, I wanted to say too that I think there's always people that you'll be around where you're the emotionally congruent one compared to them. But then there's other people where they maybe are more stable and emotionally congruent and aligned with their own, you know, aware of their feelings and able to communicate them than you are, in which case you become the more emotionally incongruent one. I was tripping out when I was first reading this because I was like, why have I always freaked people out so much in so many ways? Like, is it because I'm congruent and they're not, or I'm not and they are? And I realize it's all over the board, and I have a lot of work to do in that way, and I think all of us do. And I really hope I can inspire you to do that too. Okay, it was 4333. I want to say West Coast, your cards are just a little, West Coast and Hawaii, you have the 10 of Diamonds instead of the 9 of Diamonds. 10 of Diamonds is the most blessed card of all. It's the most abundant card of all. Y'all need to be grateful for everything you have because you're exactly right where you're supposed to be. That 10 of Spades is going to add to the 10 of Diamonds, I'm sorry, is going to add to the 3 of Spades. So 9 of Diamonds to 10 of Diamonds, 2 of Spades to 3 of Spades. The 3 of Spades is ultimate spiritual expansion. And that was my grandma's day. She was a 3 of Spades, so she passed away as soon as her day ended. Wow, I don't know if I ever saw that before. So your 10 of Diamonds and 3 of Spades, this expansion of the spirit, come together to make the King of Clubs instead of the Jack of Clubs, because we went 1 up and 1 up, so now we went 2 up, and the King of Clubs is about mastering your own mind. So West Coast and Hawaii, mastering your mind. East Coast and everywhere else, or sorry, just from West Coast over, is more the other cards. Okay, so we're in the last few minutes of this because I think I have to only do 45 minutes on Instagram. That's probably not even true, but 444. I just want to say I love you, and if you really listen to this, like, my ride or die. I would really love some feedback because I really just want to share with y'all more, but I want to do it in the like best bang for the buck way for you and I, you know? I love you so